Hi everyone, so today I want to talk a little bit about the term Palestinian. I really want to bring it, this is such an important part of the fighting. You see, every time that the word Palestinian is used, the Jews or the Israelis get triggered. They can't even continue talking because they feel so offended. And the Arabs say, aha, you see, we're not being accepted for who we are or whatnot, and it creates a lot of friction. We just put out an article on mnglobal.org that explains it, but for friends like me that like videos, we're going to make a video as well, no problem. So we have to understand that Palestinian, let's start from the beginning, okay? So the first time we have the word Palestinian mentioned is in the Torah. We know that the enemies of the children of Israel were the Palestinians, the Plishtim, the Philistines. Everyone knows the story of Goliath and King David, which Goliath was the giant that King David put a stone in the middle of his head, you know. So everyone knows the story. And everyone knows that, till today, people, when we're talking about against all odds, we talk about the way David had to fight Goliath or Goliath, right? So, that being said, the real question is, do the Palestinians have a connection to the ancient Philistines? And the answer is no. The Philistines are the predecessors to the Romans or to the Greeks, and they were a pagan people. They believed in idol worship, something that most Muslims don't want to associate with, and also don't associate with because it's not really their thing. Okay, so then why was Israel called Palestine? Well, many of you know that during the time of King Solomon's temple, the Jewish people had a kingdom in the Holy Land of Israel. And during this time, the Romans destroyed the second temple. Okay, the Romans, the children of Esau, of Edom, they destroyed the second temple. And as they destroyed the second temple, it took them 13 legions to destroy the second temple. As they destroyed the second temple, they decide they can't really hold Israel. They got to go back to Rome or whatever. But eventually they call it Palestine, on the name of the Philistines. Now, King David, by the time we're talking about the Romans, the Palestinians, the Philistines don't exist as a people. And of course, the Arabs the Philistines trace themselves back to Esau, Edom, perhaps, or maybe other Canaanite local tribes that Abraham told his kids not to marry because they're so messed up. You know? Abraham, we see in the Bible, tells the children of Israel, don't marry out the Canaanite women. So the Philistines are these pagan people which have their roots in the Canaanite or the Canaanite heritage. So by the time the Romans are destroying Israel, the Philistines don't exist anymore. They're not like the Jewish people, a culture of holiness and family purity. They mess around, they marry whoever they want, I don't know, you call it married, they do whatever they want as far as, they don't have really moral guidelines, and they're not trying to preserve their language or whatever, they're just kind of going about life, So, in that case, they don't really preserve any heritage, they don't really care very much for the land, it's kind of an opportunity, they happen to be in Israel or whatever. But there's no significance, there's no Philistine nation at this point. The Romans are only calling it Philistine because they're pissing off the Jews. We won the war, and now we can make fun of the Jews. We can call them the land that they are on, the Palestinian land. Now, even though the Jewish people lost the second temple, eventually the culture of the Jewish people ends up surpassing the Romans. Romans turn into Christians eventually. It takes a few generations, but eventually the Christians are basically learning the Torah, listening to the word of Jesus, which is a Jewish rabbi basically, and waiting for him to reveal himself as Moshiach, which is basically Judaism 101. So in the long run, the Romans won the battle, but they lost the war. Nobody speaks Latin anymore, and the ways of Rome are mostly forgotten or at least frowned upon. So today, the Arabs, which are from Yishmael, which are from a totally different lineage, the Arabic tribes, which have nothing to do with the European or the Edom or Esav heritage or the Philistine Canaanite heritage. They come from Yishmael, Hagar, Keturah, a totally different line. They despise the thought of being called Palestinian because they know that Palestinian in its root is a pagan nationality, and it's just a joke on the Jews. That's really what it is. So why should they ever call themselves this derogatory name? So who's in the land of Israel during the establishment of the state? The answer is Jordanian Arabs, Egyptian Arabs, and Lebanese Arabs, and Syrian Arabs, and so on. Turkish Arabs, Egyptian Arabs, and so on. So these are different Arabs. They call themselves Arabs. When the Six-Day War started, it wasn't the Palestinian armies that attacked Israel. It was the armies from Egypt, the armies from newly created Jordan, and so on. But the Palestinian armies never existed. The first time we see that the Palestinian Arabs start to become a thing is through a very clever scheme that the socialists, and as their name sounds like, of course we know socialists come from the USSR, connected to communism and so on, but socialism is to look at social structures of society and to sometimes try to harmonize them. Let's call a dog a cat, let's call a man a female, let's re-socialize the structures of society. And socialism is not a godly system. It's an atheistic, non-godly attempt to create redemption. So the socialist idea was, how do we create a situation where the people of Israel, studying the book of Israel, in the land of Israel, how do we turn them into a problem? How do we legitimize on the world stage that they are thieves and we take their land? So the Russians, or the socialists, which also includes some Jews that are anti-Semites, like George Soros and perhaps some of the Zionist elite cabal, the deep state. So they come up with this great idea that they're going to... So what happened? The facts are that the Arabs that were in the Holy Land, right before the Arab armies come in to kill all the Jews, so the Arab nations tell all these Arabs in Israel, leave, so that we can kill all the Jews, and then you guys will come back when we're done killing the Jews. In other words, it's a war zone, so get out, we'll kill the Jews, and then you come back to your house. Unfortunately for them, they lose the war, the Jews win. So when the Jews win, now you have, 600, 800,000 refugees in these other lands. Instead of just saying, okay, look, we lost, we told you guys to leave your houses, we lost the war, stay here, enjoy whatever. You guys are Egyptians or Jordanians or Turkish anyway. No! The Russians, with their wickedness, that reminds me of the brutality of Stalin, they said, no, do not allow anyone that lived formerly in Israel, and any Arabs that formerly lived in Israel, to resettle in Egypt or whatever. Give them crappy tents, keep them in these refugee camps, never give them equal citizenship to your citizens that stayed initially in your lands. And by this way, we create the Palestinian refugee crisis. Understand? That's the secret sauce. That's how you pretend that Israel is not legitimized. And of course, if you go into the records, you see that the Jews are extremely, extremely careful to do everything according to the law. They're not trying to break any law. The state of Israel is 100% clean, legit, according to the United Nations, according to the Balfour Declaration, according to the British Mandate. It's all good, and we got much, much less than we're supposed to. and hopefully we'll conquer all of that back very, very soon. But the point is, there's no real Palestinian people. There's maybe Turkish Arabs, former Ottoman Turkish Arabs, there's Egyptian Arabs. Jordan itself is not a real country, it's a fake country. There's only the Jordan River. There's never really a country. That whole area of Jordan is supposed to be part of Israel. It's another concocted, made-up thing. And it has to do with Arab politics. But the point is, by not allowing, just like we see in Egypt now, they're not allowing the people from Gaza to go back into Egypt. The Arabs are basically forcing these people to only have two options. Or to struggle and fight in Israel, or to migrate into Western countries and over there create chaos and terror. And basically what this does is it strains the connection between Israel and America, the allies like that, and it throws these people, and it makes these people, indoctrinating these people into terrorists against the Jewish people. So whether they find themselves in the jails in London or in the jails in America or wherever these Palestinians are found, their fellow Arabs or their fellow socialist conspirators that need to sell weapons, create conflicts in the Middle East, they need this machine to go. They spend a lot of money and a lot of energy in keeping this lie alive for as long as possible. And honestly, it's one of these lies that costs tens of thousands of lives, especially Arab lives, actually. But it's such a shame that the Arabs, the Palestinians, don't see how their fellow Arab brothers are stabbing them straight in the back, and how these socialists are programming them in order to screw them over, basically. So it's not just Hamas using the Palestinians as a human shield. The entire Arab world is using the Palestinians not as a human shield, but as a traumatized group of people. Instead of allowing them to sleep and put their head down in their country, they shut the doors, build gates like Egypt, we see between Egypt and Gaza, and they do not allow them anywhere to go, only to destroy the West or destroy Israel. That's their only hope. That's their only destiny. This is one of the most conniving, disgusting, evil, calculated plots in history, and this is a maintained, devilish plot using hundreds of thousands of people as trash. Of course, educating them in a false reality, giving them a false identity, giving them a mission that they will never be able to actually fulfill, totally disowning them and stabbing them in the back, not allowing them to progress and go anywhere other than the front line. This is a horrible thing. These people are in jail mentally because they're being indoctrinated and lied to. These people are really lost, and they don't even know that every time they scream "Free Palestine," their fellow Arab brothers that have interests in using them like trash. We see how much Hamas cares about its civilians. Zero. It's not its civilians. It's a bunch of people that are used as cannon fodder in a politically disingenuous war. Now, what's the deeper meaning? Why is this a thing? What is the deeper? Is this a conflict about land? No, this is not a conflict about land. This conflict is because the only way to control Israel is through inheritance, and God inherited the land to the children of Israel, the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But if you kill all the children of Israel, then the children of Yishmael are next in the inheritance, or perhaps the children of Esau are next in the inheritance. So because Israel cannot be conquered only through inheritance, they would like to take the Jewish people out of the equation. It's not about land. As long as Israel stands, it is a threat to the inheritance that the Jewish people deserve, rightly so, by those who are jealous and hateful and not ready to do the hard work but definitely ready to steal and kill and allow their jealousy and hate to overcome them. Let's hope that the one who makes peace in heaven will make peace upon us. May Hashem bless you all.